All right, it looks like we don't have music today, but we'll do it nevertheless because this is the show that is live now. Creative Universe on Earth presents Twin Flames Inside the Womb. Union News, Twin Flames, and a Cold Mind. Yeah, I thought this was a good idea to talk about that, so let's see. The real twin flame work happens on the inside, and then it will guaranteed manifest outside. In this series of lives, I share about what that means for my union consciousness process to inspire you to find yours. It serves as a source for your daily twin flame news. Today on the show, we have twin flames and a cold mind. And that's important because you know that people talk about the idea that twin flames is maybe a cult in itself. Maybe it just requires you to be brainwashed in some sort of a strange belief. And is that so? And can that then be healthy? Should we actually be against that? Can we have twin flames without brainwashing? What is the cold mind in itself? Is that something that twin flames have and do and require? Is that a good idea? Well, we're just gonna talk about all of this, you know. So yeah, let me just keep you in suspense for a little bit if this is all true. I personally have experiences with the cold mind and undoing it. Absolutely. 1000%. So I will share about that too. You will be enlightened in this episode. So let me know in the chat where you are watching from and add a heart for desiring union and a flame for calling in the consciousness state of harmonious twin flame union. Twin flame union consciousness wisdom of the day. For union consciousness where you are happy, you need to go beyond the double denial. The part of your mind that says it is their fault, and the part of your mind that says that it is yours. To then enter the source and live from there practically every moment. That is true. And it's going to sound pretty complicated. Like, I need to go beyond the double denial. What the heck are you saying? And then the explanation that is like, you need to go beyond that, you say it is their fault. They're my twin flame and they do it to me and it's their fault and I don't like it. But you need to go beyond that because that's not love. That's just blaming and projecting. Also in twin flame land, that's what that is called. Spiritual source thing. But when you do that, you're actually just projecting and blaming. So you need to go beyond that because it's about love. When you project and blame, you can't live that love at all. And when you are beyond it, then it starts to look more like it. But there's a second thing that you have to go beyond, and that is that you now blame yourself. So we're not together. So when it's not their fault, then it's my fault and I do everything wrong. I'm just not valuable. I'm just unworthy. I was born unworthy. And that's not true as well. You have to go beyond that also. Even when there are all kinds of reasons that, yeah, you may have done something that did not contribute yet, that was very like blocking everything. And you can face that. That can be part of the truth as well. But then you need to go beyond that nevertheless with self-compassion, with self-forgiveness. And you need to reconnect with the divine exactly at that place. And then you have gone beyond it. And you need to do that for every place where you're not together, where it does not feel unified. That's what you need to do there. That's the whole point of the twin flame work. So now you've worked through the double denial. It's not their fault, it's not your fault. Or maybe it is, and you're both working that out and you face that. But then you go beyond it nevertheless because you forgive. Then you're beyond the double denial. That's where that love is. That is the twin flame love. And that's where you can be together because that's where it flows, where it's nice, where it's good. And you need to go there for these places that feel undoable. And then you can be in harmony together forever after. And yeah, you just commit to that process. So, yeah, so just like the wisdom of today says, to then enter the source and live from there every moment in practice. So it's a practice. Maybe you need to go there all the time, again and again. Oh, I forgot again. Oh, I need to go beyond the double denial again. Let's see. And that's no problem. But that's how it really goes. We're really not used to this process. So we need to acquaint ourselves with this way of doing. It takes a while before you got it, before you automatically do it. It can take a couple years before it's really ingrained in your habits. And then you will see that like the whole world will not reflect that back to you, that this is how it's done. Like people that are not busy with twin flame inner work will reflect back to you that they think that it's not done like that, you know? And then you have to be unbothered by that. It's a whole process to face yourself into where it flows, where it works, but it's really worth it. To think that it's not worth it is just crazy. So yeah, it's just like really a new, as if you're just growing up in a new way. And now in the twin flame way, instead of in the general human way that excluded that idea somehow. Strangely, it's also not true. But that's how you were educated in the past, and now you need to change that. And we also have an ACIM lesson of the day, A Course in Miracles lesson. It's a book, and it's a very thick book, actually. This is how it looks. It's kind of hefty. It's really a tome. And it holds a method that is a complete autonomous method in itself. I didn't make it. It is channeled from the Christ consciousness itself. And it is really like the underlying Christ consciousness method of all the Christ masters throughout history. And it just means that you can find this Christ consciousness that is the same as union consciousness through reading that, through doing that. And one part of the book is lessons. And today we have this one, lesson 65. My only function is the one God gave me. The idea for today reaffirms your commitment to salvation. It also reminds you that you have no function other than that. Both these thoughts are obviously necessary for a total commitment. Salvation cannot be the only purpose you hold while you still cherish others. The full acceptance of salvation as your only function necessarily entails two phases: the recognition of salvation as your function and the relinquishment of all the other goals you have invented for yourself. This is the only way in which you can take your rightful place among the saviors of the world. This is the only way in which you can say and mean, my only function is the one God gave me. This is the only way in which you can find peace of mind. My only function is the one God gave me. This is not the whole lesson. You'll find the whole lesson in the show notes. After the show, I will put the show notes, the complete thing of it, in the Patreon. And you can become a member of the Patreon, and then you can read it. It holds the complete text. It holds the complete links, the sources. You can read everything there. Also, I give deals that you can find nowhere else, exclusively for Patreons. And you have influence on the topics of the show. The link is in the description box below. And I was like pondering the ACIM lesson of the day. My only function is the one God gave me. So what did God give you? One function to be what you truly are, which is being part of your twin flame union. That's what you truly are. And God gave you only one function, to be truly who you are as a twin flame. And taking your place in salvation history in that way. And when you embrace that fully, and you've processed it and you are it, then you experience everything in life differently. Because you just have this one function that God gave you, which is being a twin flame in your twin flame union and having as mission to stand in the world with whatever you are as that. And to stand as the messenger of God for other people, to show what you are so that they can see it as well and start to be it as well. That is the function God gave you. And if you invent other kinds of functions that you have, you've stepped away from this one thing. That is the truth. You can only stand in one function for God. The other ones, they're self-invented ones, were also not invented by God. You invented them. And trust me, there's enough to self-invent and have fun in life left if you truly stand in your power, in the position in your twin flame union that you are, that you have. There's enough fun in life left, so don't worry. Dare I say, only then the joy opens up for you. The play opens up for you, only then. Otherwise, you're much too dependent on if this goal goes right and whatnot that you have invented yourself. But for God's goal, you can just sink into it and be it. And you can trust that you already are it. You just have to let go of your illusions. That's beautiful. And I also opened my own book, because we not only work with the ACIM from the Christ Masters, with whom I co-create. That means that I exist too, and there is what they do, and then we co-create. That's how, when you come in, you're invited to to reach the harmonious union consciousness state so that you can have everything, your true twin flame, the door opened to your abundance, which includes your energy, your resources, your soul money. For you to have everything, when you want that, you come closer, you make the step, you come in relationship with me behind the YouTube, right? And that's where you get to know well, that we have our work, and then co-create with the Christ Masters as well. And that's like the secret. That's why it works, what we do here. But yeah, my work is also in books. So I opened the book as if it is an oracle. How cool is that? And I got to this passage for the show of today. 6. Soul equivalence as a basis for co-creation. The woman on top. A sexual position card from the Tantra deck by MacLeod and Bright. That is of inspirational influence under number 6. States that the man on top might be traditional, but the woman on top is a creative addition when allowed in. The opposite can also be said. Man at the bottom is a creative alternative next to what many people are used to. When the brain is put in another framework, creativity can often start to flow, and that is what we are after when we are true inhabitants of the universe as a soul, in a soul-based way. Now, it doesn't really matter that one side is traditionally this and the other that. You can call it unfair and write libraries full of protests against these perspectives. But in the end, they are just only that, ephemeral perspectives, and they never were more. True change doesn't stem from changing roles, but understanding that the soul is in fact the underlying truth of any role we could possibly play or discard. In that understanding, we can be equal, and relationship starts there. Unlock the true identity of your soul's longing by activating your DNA through attunement with the flower of life. The flower of life is really this symbol with all the circles, intersecting circles, a whole couple of them, and then they form a flower, the flower of life, which is a mathematical way of how the world, the universe, the biology, your cells, from the smallest to the biggest scale, from the stars to microscopic cells in your body, are built, how they're designed, with sacred geometry, with the intersecting circles, with the flower of life. That it's a powerful symbol. I even use it as a symbol that I put in like placemats or like coasters where you put your drink on it. And then, that sort of presence of the symbol of the sacred geometry, as the building block of life, is present and sort of influences the water in my cup and orders it a bit more neatly. So when I drink it, I really drink sort of more powerful water than it was otherwise, more powerfully ordered through the, like the building block of life, isn't it? So yeah, that was like a whole universe that we just passed through, from sexuality towards the flower of life, was sacred geometry. Oh my gosh. And actually, it said something about co-creation and about how we can be very upset by the ego personality roles we have in society, in social life. But we can also be joyful about it and creative about it when the roles in society change. Then it opens something up. Hey, I didn't know that this was also possible. But then even deeper than opening up is going to the sinking deeper into the architecture of life itself. Hey, that's even deeper. That's even more spacious. That's even more broad and deep. And then you see that there, you're actually the twin flame. And you're the one counterpart or the complementary other on that layer. And it doesn't necessarily undo what the other layers were. It's just a more foundational level. And that influences, when you sink in that one, that influences you in the rest as well. And that is the soul equivalence as a basis for co-creation. It does feel as though we're talking today a lot about how to go beyond the play of the illusion to the core, to the truth, isn't it? And I guess that the overall theme of the cult mind will also be about this in some sort of a way that is connected to it. We'll see. We'll talk about that in a second. But first, we are going to have a look at the Manifest, Union, and Mission card deck because the Oracle will have a message for us today. I already pre-shuffled it, and there it is, the card of today. Can you see it? C3.3 is a very auspicious number, 3-3. Beautiful. To honor what is created with deserved attention. Acknowledge your news why. So we see like this eternity symbol floating on the waves. And we also see the deep waves underneath the water, the deep water waves, where it all resonates, what is eternal, on the surface level, on the form level as well. It's like the ocean of creation, right? So let's see what this card, how this card is described in the booklet. Let your message wash up organically. When you have something valuable to say while having a relationship with your union, then this message will wash up at the beach of life's ocean. To create attention around this from them means to let them come to the beach for something they like to be positively enticed by. What they will find at the beach will be presented as the solution to that. And in that solution, the taste of the deep sea is present. You can smell it and hear it as the background hum of the waves while experiencing the entire scenery. Sometimes it is frustrating for the maker that only the smell can be brought across in a direct way. You will need to let your twin flame get a taste of the deep sea on their own. Letting go of this frustration, that is in fact a control mechanism, is one of the most important things you can do to make the process of spreading the news go smooth. This is how the language of your deep sea experience comes in the flow of the wind, and thus in the ear of the receiver. By letting go, true miracles can occur. You will not be the first one that opens up, relaxes, let go, and voila, out of the seemingly nothing, your twin flame will enter your experience and space. By dreaming, by online wandering, by old-fashioned writing a letter, an interest will be established. Remaining natural in your message is an art that comes into being through surrender to your union and core message. This is how Source speaks through all of us. Trust in it, and you will teach your twin flame, and through them, everyone else, that this is the most satisfying way of being. Wow. Well, kind of a clear message about your twin flame union. That is also, in a sense, about letting go of the illusions of the superficial world and let the inner message that your soul wants to bring to them and they want you to bring you, let it wash ashore. Let this connection that is already true at the core of your heart wash ashore and be present in that manifestation process and go to communication when it is really connected and received already in the ocean, in the waves, in the wind, and then it really flows. Yeah. And otherwise you just create new illusions when you're here, your union is here, this is where the heart is, but you communicate something there, like, hey, I want to da 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 da, but it's not here, it's not in the ocean of the heart, then it doesn't work. So let your message wash up organically. And that's really possible, and it doesn't need to be perfect at all. You can just be yourself. It will perfectly fall into place when you do the correct twin flame inner work and you genuinely do it. That's a promise. That is really awesome. Thanks for the card. That is from the Manifest Union and Mission cards. I have an old version published, and that's actually this, but I made a new improved version that will come out soon. Should you want to buy such a card deck, it's such a profound, beautiful card deck about union, about mission, and you can make all the steps with intuitively working with the card deck, that all the spiritual steps that are necessary and that you can imagine that even can happen between you and your twin flame. You will feel very guided. So if you would like to have such a card deck yourself, let me know already. That is just unofficial at this moment, but soon I will be able to seriously offer you to buy a deck of your own. But if you want to say now that you want to have it, that's really cool. I would love to know already. Right. So now we're actually at the point where we talk about the true topic. Because the music somehow is not here today, but we are at the ruffle. There we go, twin flames and the cold mind. Yeah, so I do think it is very connected to the topic that we talked about until here. It's something to do with, that there are illusions, and that may very well be the cold mind. But what does it have to do with twin flames? Is it like there is a cold mind full of illusions and people have it, and that's very bad and sad and awful, and it hurts, and that is the twin flame? Or people have this cold mind and it's very bad and sad and you would not want that, but it is not the twin flame thing, phenomenon, teaching, reality. Which one is it? And that's, I think, a big, big question, because, I mean, we can have the experience of a cold mind, and that often happens, with the most intelligent people, like with it just, you can just pick that up without you wanting it. It is something that can happen when you're a prisoner of war, when you are coerced into a narcissistic relationship, when you are in an abusive relationship for 20 years, when you have grown up with abusers, when you magically believe deeply in certain stories that the media portray to you every day on all kinds of media, or that society feeds into you that are really like stories. That could also be a cult mind. But the idea of cult, of course, means that there is a certain idea that is maybe like, in a sense, also like not mainstream. Often the idea of cult mind means that there's an idea that enters your mind and sort of gets stuck there, that is from a group that is a very small group. It's like a way of thinking that is belonging to a very small group of people that are only, I don't know, 12 people or like a couple million, but like a group of people, not mainstream thinking. That's what it's most um, connected to. But at the same time, you could actually very well say that it is supposed to be about a way of thinking that is actually not beneficial, because then it sounds like a problematic thing, the cult mind. So then you could say that is can also be about mainstream ideas that are not beneficial for you. But for what part of you, like the soul in you or the personality in you? So it really depends on what you mean with it. And cult is actually a word that is also part of it. And people often say very easily, like, oh, yeah, that's a cult. And then it's just the idea is that it's supposed to per- convey that that's very bad, very awful. Um, very coercive, very narcissistic, very bad for your mental health, bad for your emotional health, for your physical health, um, working against you, against your best interest, and all of that, and that people don't know that, but people that stand outside of that, they do know that because they can see it. So that's sort of how that word is often used. But if you really look closely at the word itself, then you hear much more that it's just a word. It's cult, and it comes actually from cultus. That is the cultus of adoring, bringing respect to culturally important gods, for instance, in certain cultures. That's a cultus, maybe also from non-religious things or topics. The cultus of something that people find important in life. Now, whatever I'm going to say about this topic, never come to the conclusion that I actually am preaching for harmful organizations that are out to scam you out of your money, to bring you physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual harm with manipulative techniques. Because I'm not for that. Whatever I say, whatever the story will be for the rest today, that is never what I mean. So if you think that, then put that out of your mind, because that is not so. But I do try to sort of detangle this word, the wording, cult mind. What is a cult? Let's detangle that a little bit so that you become more open minded to maybe go to the truth of the matter, go deeper with it. Like, what is this? Because I have seen that it has been actually becoming a sort of a cult in itself to call Twin Flames a cult. And that's the new cult online. That was for some time. So the new cult is calling Twin Flames a cult. See? And then they're all starting to say that message and repeating each other. And then you start to see that is how a cult is formed. Have a certain idea, a certain mentality, and then repeat that often enough so that it becomes a thing, right? So, what is my experience? Because as you know, I'm in Harmonious Twin Flame Union since 2020. I've been initiated to pass that state of consciousness on that is here for you to have and to accept and to surrender into, so that you can have all the healing that it is really about, that I prepared for you with Divine Mother in this work, and a lot more, a lot more than I can ever tell you. Well, for me, it encompassed a lot of healing. And one of the healings it encompassed to get where I am today, in the consciousness state that twin flames are about, and fully healed, both, and initiated as teacher. And all of it just really means that I have let go of the difference between me and Divine Mother to such a degree that we're not separate anymore. And Divine Mother stands for God, or the divine, or the universe, but the name doesn't matter. And in that whole complex of healing that I have experienced, there was a moment that I very clearly needed to be de-brainwashed out of a cult mind. And that was a very confusing time, where I didn't know anymore what was left or right, up or down. And I know very well what that is. And I'm incredibly intelligent, so that's not the point. This was a phase that I needed to go through. And for how I experienced it, it feels pretty universal. It's a universal experience that everyone goes through in their own way. You need to get rid of the cult mind, because how it went for me, the process, and where it brought me definitively and completely and utterly, was it delivered me into a place where I'm not unhealed anymore. That's like this strange, funny way of talking where you say double denials. I'm not unhealed anymore. So I'm healed there. I'm sobered up. I'm grounded. I'm rooted. I lost my illusions. And that's the place where it eventually was all about, where the whole process brought me. Just simply being sobered up in reality. But one of the things that was needed to get there was get rid of the cold mind. And it felt so universal. Everyone will go through it in some sort of way. And you need to get rid of it. And when you are in the result of the twin flame union process, landing on your realistic, true feet in God's reality, you will just need to have gone through that uncult mind, unbrainwashing, debrainwashing, deprogramming. That's my experience. You need to have gone through that. There's no other way. And what you see then is that what you were in before, it doesn't matter what that was, but you need to get rid of it. You need to be purified, cleaned up. Your thoughts, your memory, your belief systems, your mental space, your emotional space, your energetic space, your physical space needs to be purified. And whatever it is where you're stuck in, you just need to get rid of it. And often we don't know what we're stuck in. That's the whole point, right? That's why we do healing. That's why people experience it as there are phases and steps that seem strange and new and difficult. And it's not that it is difficult, because it's not, but it's the experiential phase can seem strange and difficult. Because we're in all kinds of dirt and dust and beliefs that are untrue and illusions that block our seeing, inner seeing, and ideas that prevent communicating with the divine directly and stuff. And that all needs to go. And whatever that is, you need to leave it behind to be able to land in your twin flame reality. That's just how it is. So to land in that twin flame reality, I needed to let go. And when I was in that exact moment that it needed to be let go of, and I needed to move through whatever that was for me, it was very confusing. It was deeply confusing because it was indeed like this moment took a couple weeks or something. And it was indeed this moment in which it was like, but I don't even understand anymore what the thing is that I need to let go of. I don't even understand anymore what the point is that we are letting go of. Like, am I letting go of the idea of twin flames? Am I going to let go of how I thought I was moving through twin flame guidance? Or am I letting go of something else? Am I letting go of my toxic upbringing that left in my way of thinking, my way of believing, in my memory, a huge, big, fat debris of illusions, nonsense, and hurtful emotions and thoughts, self-deprecating thoughts, self-attacking thoughts? Because I was deeply abused as a child, emotionally, physically, psychologically, and sexually, mentally, on every level anyway. So it was just like, well, a lot of things were there except love and care and understanding and psychological health, giving, psychological sane build up of a personality, emotional safety, sexual safety. So like a lot was there, but all of these very essential things not. There was verbal violence, physical violence, sexual assault. And all of that was presented as something that was not to be questioned, as it was just life. Nothing is going on here. And I very much needed to believe that violently. So that just left a huge debris in my system. especially because I needed to suppress all of that. That it was so, the facts, the memories, but also the emotions, the reactions, the feelings, the stories, the self perception, everything needed to be suppressed. Anyway, so that left a whole bunch in my life and makes you continually relive this whole situation with friends and lovers and social and work situations and everything, because that's just how life sort of works. So you will just relive that until you have processed it and completely left it, completely and utterly, which I have now. So that's how it goes. But yeah, so what was the craziness deep in my process when I stood before it, Was the crazy, was the brainwashing, was the programming, was the cult mind in me? Which one was it? I was just falling through this process. And how did I do it? With Twin Flame Inner Work, the only Twin Flame Inner Work that is true and real and connected to the divine. With the key tool, we have 4 versions at this point, and an energy system that supports it fully, and guidance and everything. What was it that I needed to let go of in this falling through of that moment in my journey that you will also go through? Did I need to let go of the craziness that I was believing in twin flames, and that I was going deeper and deeper with that, with Twin Flame Inner Work, and that would lead me to union, and what union really is, like you're really one with God and therefore also with your twin flame, so they must come forward and have an intimate relationship with you too, because that just belongs all together, God and your twin flame, and in the intimate relationship that is made out of divine love. Is that the super duper craziness, that you need to let go of, because it's just coercive, crazy, out of your mind ideas that can't be real. So it must all be a fantasy and an illusion that this even exists. Well, we know that, that people like to partner up for a foundation in life, and then they settle down and have a home, and then they start to be helpful to society and whatnot, and gain money, and they start a family, and that's sort of a pattern of behavior that most people sort of subscribe to. But why would there be a version of that that is so divinely connected and related, that it is so mind-blowingly different, that you need to like run after it like a headless chicken and spend all your money on it, and then it is actually all brought together by going deeper with the divine, meditating with Divine Mother, and doing the divine inner work and feeling the divine love, and that must all be crazy religious. And why are you doing that? I mean, this really starts to sound like a cult, isn't it? Sounds like a cult. Sounds like a cult. Smells like a cult. Must be a cult. So which one is it? Or was the society the cult that actually had created this narcissistic and sexually abusive situation in my childhood that kept on repeating over and over in my life? And is that actually the cult? Or is like society the cult that protects these kind of abusers by not commenting on them and doing as if nothing is happening there? Like, what is the cult that I needed to let go of? And I was completely confused by it. I had no idea. But you know what I did? I kept on doing the inner work. I kept on being sort of meditative with it. And I allowed it. And I felt as though I went completely crazy there because my world image, my image of the world, my preconception, my preconceived notions of how the world worked, how the reality worked, how the universe worked, how God worked, even was completely obliterated. And I didn't know anymore what was left and right or above and below. And I let this being worked out through surrendering into it. And at the end of this process, I started to see the light again. And I saw that the truth was that the twin flame and the relationship with God was the truth. And the society with a social background of having been grown up in a family that is deeply psychologically unwell while not acknowledging that, which made me psychologically unwell. That was the cult that I was letting go of. And I let go of that cult. And I saw it. And then I moved on to a new phase. So there it was, the outcome of this process. There it was. But that is when you truly go through it. That is when you truly give yourself the chance to do the inner work and become uncold minded through sobering up, through making true spiritual progress, through doing the true spiritual inner work. That's how that goes. That's what will happen to you then. When you dive into that, when you give yourself into that, when you have not given into it, and you might sort of mentally step aside from yourself and look at the relationship from and the situation from the outside. When you look from the outside in, you have separated yourself again. And then you might say, oh, see, I can now I can see it. Yeah. It's a bit crazy, isn't it, to believe in a twin flame? Yeah. It sounds like culty. Yeah, but you have separated yourself now and you're just looking at it instead of experiencing it and experiencing the healing of it. And before you know it, you not only believe again in general societal ideas that not necessarily need to be against you, but when they protect your abusers, then they are. And you've, before you know it, you've like retracted again, and you're just hiding again in this place where you were hiding as a child, crying, hoping that your parents don't come at you again, trying to be normal while it is absolutely not normal because it's not healthy what is happening with you. You're trying to make it normal, to be a good child so that everything can be normal. and you can feel loved although you're not. But you live in the story that you are. Before you know it, you're there again. Because you have withdrawn from the place where you were experiencing it, where you were healing. And you are looking from the outside at the situation, and you're like, oh, yeah, that must be a cold mind. Instead of, no, I am in a cold mind and I need to get rid of it. And the twin flame process is the spiritual process that rids me of it, which is the truth. Which is the truth. So, should you be in any sort of twin flame work or reality or group or teaching or whatever that brings you deeper into the illusions, into nonsense, into painful truths instead of ridding you from it, then you might be in a cold mind. It just has the word twin flame on it. And that's sad because it gives twin flames a bad name, a bad rep, which is not necessary because it's not the truth. In truth, the true twin flame work, the true twin flame teaching brings you home, brings you into where you're one with God. That's like the eye of the storm, where it is peaceful and truthful. And you're rooted into the truth. You're grounded into the truth. Because you're on earth too, you're also grounded and rooted on earth. But in the first place, you're grounded and rooted in the truth. It sobers you up. It de-brainwashes you. It deprograms you from anything that is happening in your belief system, in your memory, in your mind, your intellect, in your emotions, in your energy. And whatever you're a slave of, you will be freed from. But we often are so much into the slave mindset that we don't know that we are. We don't know what we're a slave to. We can't see it anymore. That's the problem. So when you transpone that to the psychological realm, this phenomenon, just transpone it a little bit. There, what they call this is, well, what do you think about the trauma bond or like the Stockholm syndrome? That you're so much used to that which suppresses you that you don't know that it does. You agree with your aggressor, your brainwasher. You agree with your brainwasher. And you think that you are so spiritually evolved as well for doing so. That's a psychological phenomenon that this happens to people. But when you do the genuine work, you will always be deprogrammed of whatever it is that you are under the yoke of. Is that a right way to say it? That you're under the suppression of, that you're a slave of. You will be freed. And maybe it could be said in another way, you become the slave of true peace of God. But that analogy might not sound very present day. That's like a traditional way of saying that one in a new sort of way. And where I am now in my consciousness work, that actually does feel like a correct saying. Again, in a new way. That I'm the slave of Divine Mother because I only do what she says all the time. And that's how I am successful in bringing you towards your twin flame. I choose now to explore the most complete depths of my being. I surrender my mind completely to God, that He may bring it into perfect harmony with His. I invite God now into my very core, that He may make it right, returning it perfectly to its state of eternal wholeness. I trust in the power of divine love. I choose to see the truth that it is universally accepted by all. At the core of every child of God, including me, we're all one with our twin flames and God. It is safe for me to open completely to love now. My love is not elusive unless you command it so. But don't worry. You could not choose against love itself because you are love itself, manifest as you eternally. If you command it to leave, love does not leave because it cannot possibly leave. But you leave love by the power of your command. And by that same power, you can command yourself to return to love. And it is so revealing to you that love never left. It is safe to let go. It is safe to relax into love's eternal presence. Love is calling you home, and I'll be there waiting. I have always been here with you, and I always will be. Your next step. Don't forget to actually start the process and jump on the team. Actively come to our community, start doing the correct inner work, and ask the support you deserve through our services so that we can start the relationship that will lead to your harmonious union and beyond. When you're not in the relationship, you're not on the team, and you can't expect the results I'm speaking of and, in fact, guaranteeing. Currently, you are cordially invited to step into the group year course experience. This is the Twin Flame Mystery School you have been waiting for. I am looking for 9 people to step into this abundant opportunity. Twin Flame Abundance Now opens its door on May the 1st. Start giving so that you can receive. The door closes as soon as I have my 9 people that will be successful in their journey. But first, we dance towards the opening of the door together. Join the launch of the Twin Flame Year Group course of your dreams. creativeuniverse.earth/abundance now launch. Link also in the description box below. The show notes. You can, however, support this ongoing live Twin Flame news as such. Make it possible as co-creator. Without your participation and financial gifts, I cannot do anything because we need to have an energetic and verbal visual exchange for things to make sense and to know what I need to talk about for you. And also, we are on Earth and it necessarily always works with money as a means to make sacred content actually physically flow. Therefore, I post the show notes in Patreon. Come over and enjoy. Have influence on the broadcasts. Don't miss out on the behind the scenes experience. Patreon.com/PEJ at Creative Universe. Link below in the comment box, in the description box. This month, the Patreon subscriber action is the Divine Love reading for the old price of €99 instead of the new one of €177. Why don't you share this with a friend, the video? That would be nice. They might be inspired. I'm Petra, in the consciousness state of harmonious twin flame union since March 2020. worked with the new Christ masters on earth right now to roll this consciousness state out to so everyone can enjoy the abundant life with their true twin flame soon enough. After going in with me right here. Don't search any further. You reached what you were looking for. Om Amen.